You're sitting alone in your living room. In front of you is a camera. The lens is looking back at you, emotionless. You feel the pressure. You try to get comfortable. You're making your hair, but because you think once you press record, it's on. You have to deliver. But you feel awkward sitting alone. And you're wondering, how do I get used to talking to a camera by myself? You want to feel comfortable and confident in front of the camera, but you don't like how you sound or how you look. And you also fear that others might judge you and your imposter syndrome creeps in. If you have ever felt like this, type yes in the comments. Madeline, as a musician and a vocal coach, I'm sure you probably have never felt like this and have always felt like home on being on camera.
I wish I could say that was true, but with the rare exception of maybe the 1% population that's totally psychopathic and doesn't care about what anyone thinks, everyone feels anxious going on stage. And just like working out, it's a muscle that you practice. It's something that you show up to do, even when you don't want to, and even though it's painful and not what you want to be doing in that moment. So I do feel comfortable on stage, but it's taken a lifetime of doing the work and practice and showing up.
Yeah, I I'm with you. Even right now, even though it looks like I feel totally comfortable, I feel my heart beating and hopefully all the technology is working. But I can already see a couple of people joining us. You talked about a lifetime of practice, and we're going to talk about how to feel more comfortable on camera. Can you tell us a little bit, how did you come up with some of the solutions that you're going to share with us?
Just trial by fire on the ground. My mother is a professional musician, so I was born into almost an obligatory life of being on stage. And I definitely had a talent and a love for music. So as soon as I could sit up at the piano, I was playing. And then as soon as I could get up onto a stage, my mom was bringing me into all of the things she was doing and having me do recitals. So it was a part of my story that I didn't opt into. But for most of my early childhood and into my high school and college training years, because music was all I did, it was like being a professional athlete or training for the Olympics. It was my life. I would still feel terrified to get on stage. So when I talk about a lifetime of practice, it's literally that. It was just getting on stage. And then I remember there was a moment because I did a lot of competitive classical piano
Mhm.
competitions when I was growing up. I got off stage and it was like a state competition, so a higher stake thing in the music world. And I had messed up a piece that I knew I could play perfectly. And I
Mhm.
remember thinking, I wish I just had one more chance. And that
Mhm.
was the moment where I realized that I had to figure out what was blocking me from doing what I knew I could do in that
Mhm.
moment. Because unfortunately in life, you don't always get second chances. So it was
Mhm.
that moment that really started my journey of looking into why I felt so nervous and what I could do to overcome that.
Ooh, I love this. And everyone who's watching probably had one of these moments, especially maybe in school, where you go into the math exam and you think, oh, I know all of this. And then you're sitting there, there's, there's something else. I've never seen something like this. And you totally feel blocked. And I see a couple of people joining us. So welcome. Let us know. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Where are you from? And we are talking right now about Madeline's journey on becoming more comfortable on camera. And I'm actually curious, from a high level perspective, what are some of your best tips to just feel a little bit more relaxed when you're filming yourself?
I think there's three things at the basic tactical level. There's tools to learn about body language and vocal performance and presentation and stage presence in general. The next level under that is an understanding of why you're on stage. You have
Mhm.
to understand your story. You have to know what your hero journey has been. And why are you the hero of this particular stage or this particular camera filming? What's brought you to that point? Like, you really have to know who you are and what you have to offer. So it's
Mhm.
a lot of a mindset game. And a lot of what I do with clients is actually really deep subconscious work because
Mhm.
most people have never consciously thought about what their story is and then rewritten and reclaimed the parts of the story that no longer serve them. So that's the next level. You really have to know what your hero journey is and what
Mhm.
kind of hero you are, because anyone that you're talking to who's listening is there for a reason. They want the value you have to offer. And you need to understand that they're just a few steps behind you. You know, like, you don't have to be an expert. They're just someone who's on the journey who's a few steps behind you. But you've got to know what journey you're on and what kind of hero you are. So getting really clear on your story. Why am I here? Why am I talking? And then the third level would be to understand the story that you're telling on stage. So who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Why does it matter to your person, to your
Mhm.
audience? Where are they in their hero journey? So you can really talk to them at that particular point. And
Mhm.
how does this benefit them? So if you can get really clear, those are like the intentions behind why you might show up on stage. That would be the order of higher operations as I see it.
Ooh, and when we talked about this live, you know how I love the idea of the hero's journey and the different archetypes of how you can go through this journey.
Mhm.
And I'm actually curious for those who are watching right now. Have you heard about the idea of archetypes and hero journeys? Let us know in the comments. And I also want to say thank you so much for Jess being here and giving us the okay, they can hear us great.
Yeah.
And Joe, thank you so much. We love doing, or I love doing these lives, especially if you have amazing guests like Madeline here. And there's one question here, no longer serve them. Can you expand on this, please? Yes. So, how can a story no longer serve somebody?
So I'm going to go a little bit into the subconscious thought process of feeling anxiety on.
I like this subconscious a
I'm
lot.
going to try to keep it not too, I'm not going to try to go too deep, but basically, the story of your life is the idea that you have of who you are as a person. And the root of anxiety about showing up on stage and speaking your truth is evolutionary in nature. If you think back on the history of the species, if you're living in a caveman tribe and you do something that gets you rejected, which is the fear that most people have to get on camera, I might be rejected or judged or pushed out of this tribe for what I had to say. For millions of years of evolution, rejection by the tribe would mean certain death. And you get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, and then it's all done. So
Yeah.
there's a really, really deep evolutionary reason why people feel anxious to show up on camera.
Mhm.
Related to that fear, in the process of human socialization, we also learn that there are parts of who we are, like usually authentic parts of who we are, that are either acceptable or not to our tribe. And it's a very subconscious process. Most of it happens in the first like 6 to 7 years of early childhood development. And a lot of it's not even conscious, it's pre-memory. You might be a kid that wants to run around naked and be free. And then your family says, oh no, people don't run around naked. You can't do that. And that part of who you are gets sectioned off and pushed down into your subconscious mind. So you might think that you're someone who would never make crazy displays of whatever in public, but deep down inside there is a part of you that was never allowed to be expressed because your brain, in an attempt to keep you safe and in
Yeah.
the tribe, suppressed that aspect of who you are. So the process of learning who you are and what you have to offer the world as a brand, as a coach, is going back through those limiting beliefs and asking which ones you want to keep.
Mhm.
So you get to rewrite your story when you do that, basically. You get to look at things and say, that happened, and I understand why. I decided not to be an artist because my family wanted me to go to law school, but you know what? deep down inside, I really am an artist or a fitness coach or a musician.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. And Jesse, let us know if that helped. And I think a lot of nutrition coaches or coaches in general have this idea of, oh, I could create something on my own, but then we have essentially inherited the fear of being your own boss. And that's so dangerous and you shouldn't do that. So you get your job and that's safe. And I'm actually curious, Madeline, what are some of the results that people see when they find their authentic voice?
Mhm. Well, remind me to tell you about the exercise I do when people come to me with that. But a lot of people talk about growing your business and getting more clients and making sales, and that's the surface level result of actually being able to show up on camera and speak your authentic voice. I always like to tune because I'm a musician turned coach. So the way that I look at the world is through frequency and vibration and resonance. Um, and if you can tune into the reality of what happens, what your world looks like right now. So you're not showing up on camera. You're doing your posts, you're too afraid to go live, you're not creating the content that you know you want to create. Look around your world and just ask yourself how it feels. Like, do you like it? Do you want to be like this? Do you like the clients that you're getting? Do you like the person you're dating? You know, the way that you show up online is the way that you show up everywhere. So is this version of who you are the feeling and the reality that you want to experience?
Mhm.
Then think about what would happen if you did start showing up on camera. So don't think about all of the ways that you do it and what you have to do. Just go into the vibrational feeling place, like imagination, the way that kids use imagination. That's the superpower secret to manifesting the life that you want to live. Is to
Mhm.
get into that imaginary place and then get yourself into that frequency because you can't experience anything that you are not already emitting as an emotional vibrational frequency. So
Mhm.
think instead, if you did start creating content, don't think about doing that, but what would your world look like? And what would it feel like if you actually were creating content and were working with the people that are your dream, best of the best clients? What would it feel like to have that community around you? What would it feel like to have speaking opportunities and collaboration opportunities coming in? And you don't have to look at the details so much, but just go into that feeling and then measure the cost between where you are now and what you could have and really get down deeper into that emotional vibrational place of why it matters to create content because the cost is basically that you end up working with clients that you don't like, you're overworked and underpaid, you're not getting the opportunities you want, you feel shut down and stifled. And on the other side of overcoming the fear of getting onto camera is like everything that you've ever wanted, the reason why you're coaching, the real life that you want to create.
Boo. At some point, I have to get you and Laura Popo ran together with me on live stream, and then we have the musician, the rebel coach, and then
Mhm.
I will come from the physicist's perspective, and then we talk about quantum mechanics and vibration and all the really cool stuff at some point.
I would love that.
But first, thank you, Jesse, so much for the feedback. Was a great explanation. If any other questions have come up, let us know in the comments. We're super curious to hear from you. Now, we have talked about vibrations and what happens if we allow ourselves to be authentic and what happens if we don't. But what are some of the first steps to actually overcome camera anxiety and the fear of recording yourself?
I'll start with the surface, kind of the tactical level, because it's hard to do that deep work. You got to be ready to take it
Mhm.
on. So, on the surface level, some basics of body language presentation would be I like to say, think like a caveman. Everything that we do in body language is designed for our brains to be able to figure out if we like someone, do we
Mhm.
trust them, are they a threat or a friend, are they a possible mate, or do we not care? So When you're on camera, you want to think about your posture. You want to make sure that you're standing upright and as still as possible. There's been studies about how leaders move and how that's different from other people. And in general, leaders tend to move slower, take up more space, and they really own the temporal aspect of whatever's happening. So they own the time of what's happening in that room. So make sure that you're standing, in your, what's it called? Your athletic stance, with your shoulders back. Put yourself into that confident position. And then as you're speaking, take your time to say what you have to say. Don't try to rush. Take good breaths. One of the basics of vocal projection is that your voice doesn't come from your throat. It actually comes from the air that's moving over your throat to create that vibration. So you can think about taking a breath and using that breath to go through an entire sentence. And then when you're thinking about sentences and speaking, be aware of your inflection. I think you and I talked about this, Robin, where upspeak is something that people do.
Mhm.
And whenever you're doing upspeak, it sounds like you're not sure. Everything's a question. So be aware that when you're saying something, you want to deliver your line with a downward inflection. And that gives the impression that people know what you're talking about. Take your time to put your face on, make sure that you feel like you look the best that you can look. Ideally, you want to be close to a window, be aware of your lighting. So try to set up your lighting in a way that's going to complement you as best as possible. And those are like the surface level tactical things. We can go deeper if you want next, but I'd be curious to hear what your question is.
Yeah, so first of all, did anybody notice how self-conscious I became as Madeline talked about how you stand and how you're moving and what you're doing and what is your hair? So thank you so much for making me terribly nervous, right, when we are live and how I'm standing and if I put like this.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, how nice. We have our first spammer. I've never had that before.
A spammer. What do they have to say?
I don't want to say it because it might demonetize our video.
Oh
Let
dear.
me put this user in timeout. Awesome. Yay! First spammer on live stream. I'm getting successful. Okay,
Exactly. I mean, that's another thing. You got to be ready for the haters.
ready for the haters. Okay. Um, you talked about breath and inflection and so on. Now imagine I want to create a story tomorrow. What can I do before I pick up the phone to get comfortable recording myself? Do you have some quick tips?
Well, be really clear on why you're doing it. I think that's the number one thing. Who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Why does it matter to this listener? Where are they in their journey? And how is what you're sharing going to help them? If you're really, really clear on that and you're talking about something that you know about, don't try to talk about something that you've just learned.
Mhm.
Talk about things that you know, and then you can make a bullet outline. I don't like to script things, but you're certainly like I've definitely made that bullet list outline of all of those things and the topics that I want to cover. Um, Set your intention before you film the content. Am I trying to share? Am I trying to connect? What's my call to action? What's the ultimate goal and intention of this video? I think a lot of the stage work that you do when you're stepping into character is really about getting clear on why you're there in that scene, what you want and what the other person wants out of this interaction.
Mhm.
And then get your wherever you're going to film, get it set up and, maybe practice just going onto the camera. Like you're not going to keep any of those takes. And then one of my favorite things to do after I've done all of that groundwork and outlined the bullet points, is to go for a walk. Bipedal motion is one of the most powerful ways for the brain to process data and really work through it and figure it out. So walking is one of my favorite ways to get through that script. So you've got your bullet points, go for a walk and just voice record, off the top, what you might say in this video and have an idea of how long you want it to be, But for that first walk and that first voice record, when you're practicing what you want to say, just flow. Say whatever comes to mind. Don't press stop. Just keep going. Let it come out. Then when you get back to your house or your apartment, listen through that voice recording and you can take out some of the best pieces of what you said. And then I'll usually, if it's a really big video, go on another walk after I reviewed that. And it's like you're kind of practicing the points that you want to cover. And when you walk, you take the pressure of sitting there like a deer in the headlights off, and you get it more into your body and more into your heart and into your memory.
I love this. And by the way, Jessie, thank you so much for noticing that my body language changed. That makes it much, much better. Okay, so we have been practicing, we have been walking, we have been going through our script. What are some of the very basic recommendations you have for how to stand on camera or how to appear on camera?
I like to do some kind of physical activity. So if you work out before you film your videos. You're kind of waking up your body. One thing you can do is the classic hero pose. You know how they say to stand with your arms like this, and it'll actually change your neurological wiring to feel like you're in a more dominant position. I think if we're talking to fitness coaches, just think about that athletic stance. So roll your shoulders up and down. Make sure that your pelvis is, tilted under and supported so you're not splaying, because what that helps is your diaphragm to have the room to actually expand and contract when you're taking breaths for your sentences. Be aware that, I was saying think like a caveman for body language. So I like to have my hands visible. See where your hands are and be aware of how you're using them. In caveman language, being able to see hands means that someone is not armed and that they're less of a threat. So don't be afraid to use your arms. Something like that is very welcome and inviting, but something like this is just fine too. Generally, steepling or crossing your fingers or closing your body in any kind of way is immediately going to send the signal that you're not open. So that's a thinking pose. But if you want to really come off as being open, you're basically in that athletic stance with your hands visible, because it's a subconscious thing, and just take a breath and root down into the earth, ground yourself down.
I love the idea. One of the things that we talked about when we had our first conversation was how I am self-conscious about how quickly I speak. Do you have some recommendations on how to maybe practice to speak more clearly, more quickly, maybe, or maybe just warming up the voice?
Well, so let's start with warming up, because that would be, the precursor. One of my favorite ways to warm up the voice, first of all, is to try and get good sleep and try to be very hydrated, because hydration will make a huge difference in your voice's ability to perform. Yeah. One of my favorite warm-ups feels kind of silly, but it's basically lip trills. So you put your lips together and you make a sound that goes like this. It's like, I don't know if I can do it. But try to add a sound to it. You want to try it, Robin? But this is your first warm-up. It's just like your body, so don't be super aggro. Just do it as light as you can.
Okay. But one second. One second. For everyone who's watching, first, let us know if you're laughing about us because that means we are kind of cool. And secondly, let us know if you're actually trying this at home as well. Because I want to have the feeling that we are inspiring people out in the world doing silly noises in front of a camera. Okay, so.
Mm-hmm. So you're hydrated, you're not drinking, you finish your coffee, or I don't like to drink coffee and caffeine when I'm getting ready to do a presentation. So you do your lip trills for like 60 seconds, really gently. And then you can start to phonate on, let's see, what should you do next? It's like the bubblegum exercise. And all of this stuff feels really silly. I'm used to it, but I always forget that it's so weird for other people. So imagine you have a piece of bubblegum in your mouth and it's like about to pop in the back of your soft palate. And for basic vocal anatomy, you have your hard palate, which is right behind your front teeth. And then that soft palate is the part of your mouth that rises up when you yawn. So pretend like you've got this big bubble gum and then just start like start kind of chewing around on the sound. And you should you feel a buzzing like up here in your lips. You feel it? And that buzzing, this front part of your face is called your mask. That's where you get a really clear and crisp vocal sound from. So the point of the chewing exercise is kind of to warm up your articulators or your jaw and tongue, and then start to feel that more buzzy place up here. And then my next favorite exercise is like, I don't know what to call it. It's a way to start warming everything in your face up. And it's basically hanga. It's hanga. And that helps you. You want to try it?
Okay. For everyone who's watching and looking, my camera is here, but my display is here. So let me take it. So what do I have to do?
Just go hung and hold that in, and then go hanga.
Okay.
Hanga.
Because we are entertaining Jesse, so let me try it. Hanga.
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 You feel how when you do that, hung, you kind of feel the buzz here in the front of your face, and then that soft
yeah. Hanga.
And when you do the ga, what you're doing is you're popping that soft palate up, so you're getting into a more resonant place of your voice. Hanga.
Okay. That sounds powerful. Wait. Hanga.
And that ga, that's your natural speaking voice. That's like the place and the feeling that you want to be consciously trying to speak from. And I don't know if we want to go into more detail, but those are some of my basic vocal warming up exercises.
Yeah. Because one of the things that we all know, especially as coaches, is we can throw tips at people and they're nice and we can make fun on a live video, but in reality, something deeper has to change. And you touched a little bit on this in the beginning. And can you tell us a little bit more how we can actually go deeper in uncovering our hero journey and finding maybe the archetype or the person that we actually are? So we can actually find this inspiring person inside of us that tries silly things like hunger on camera while people are watching.
Let's see. Let's start with an exercise, and then we can talk about archetypes. So let's do like a role play if you're ready to do a role play.
I'm ready.
So one of the favorite exercises I do with my clients is this one. When you're trying to figure out what limiting belief is standing in front of your way, like why you're feeling so much fear. Um, I like to ask this single question. So let's pretend like you're trying to record a video or go live, but you feel really, really nervous about it. Or you can think of something else in your life that I don't know if you want to share. But let's pretend like you're nervous to record video content. So my question would be, if that's like what are you afraid of, first of all?
So
Why are
you
you,
want me to answer?
yeah, you're gonna do my role play. Why are you afraid to make this video content?
Honestly, I think my sound, my voice sounds really weird when I'm watching the recording, and it's almost painful when I press play. It almost feels painful watching it. And the second part is I'm super conscious about my face being a little asymmetrical. And I always have the tendency of maybe twisting my head a little bit so my eyes actually level. So I really feel like seeing myself talking in camera is everything is painful.
Okay. So if that's true about you, what does that mean and why? What does it mean that it's painful that you're watching your video content?
Two questions, and I'm already feeling like we are on the couch. Okay, what does it mean? That I don't feel comfortable with how I look. I um, I think if I try to go deeper, it's more like, am I okay the way I am? And are people going to like my authentic version because on video I can't hide?
hmm So if you can't hide on video, what does that mean or say about you, and why does that matter?
If I can't show myself, what does it mean?
If that's true, what does it mean about you, and why does it matter?
Ooh. I rarely have a point where I'm actually looking at something blank inside my head. Okay, so what is there?
It's like the first thing that comes to mind. If you can't be yourself on camera, what does that mean about you, and why does it matter?
That I always try to be somebody else.
If that's true about you, what does that mean, and why does it matter?
If I'm always trying to be somebody else, then I'm wasting my time trying to pretend something that I'm not.
Okay.
And
Um,
okay,
so if that's true about you, what does that mean, and why does it matter?
I'm okay. I think the only real answer that I'd have for that is, what's the point of living?
There we go.
Ooh,
So
actually,
if that's true, what does that mean about you, and why does it matter?
um, what does it mean that there's no point to living, and why does it matter? If the first thing that really comes up is I think it's a Turkish saying, like it's not something you're not trying to What's the best way to describe it? It's like um, there's something inside of me that has to go, that I don't like, or that doesn't feel lovable.
Hmm. Like, why would there be no point to living? And this is deep work. I honor you for being brave enough. But this is how you get through to what's really holding you back. Why would what would it mean that there's no point to living? What does that mean about life or about you?
Ooh, that's a completely. Now we can open up a whole conversation about what's the point of all the suffering and why do we have to work so hard to get anywhere? Um,
This is just about you.
yeah, I mean, what's the point of taking time after work to record a video that maybe 50, maybe 100 people watch?
Hmm.
Um,
And if only 50 or 100 people watch, what does that mean? And why does that matter?
ooh, 1 second. Jesse is super active. Lots of vulnerability. Yeah, I feel like I've earned some ice cream after this. I will have a vulnerability hangover.
Well, we can stop there.
Yeah, because we somehow have to move into your coaching as well. But I will answer your question. And Jesse also said unfulfilled expectations, maybe. Okay, your question is why does it matter that maybe 50 or 100 people uh, watch this?
Yeah, like what does it mean about you and why does it matter if that's what happens?
I think the most honest question would be why am I not better? What is it that's holding me back that I can't attract more people to the videos that I feel are so valuable? Yeah.
Yeah, we can totally stop there. Look, when I do that with most people, if you keep digging, if that's true, what does that mean and what does it say about me? Why does it matter? You'll usually get down to some core belief that's related either to self-worth or feeling powerful enough to create what you want.
Mhm.
Those are like the core fears and beliefs that you're dealing with. So when you can become conscious of those, that's when you can start going back into your life and looking for evidence of all the times that you actually were powerful enough to create things you wanted to create and that
Mhm.
you were worthy of receiving love and success. And that's part of the whole getting down to that subconscious belief because when things are in the subconscious mind, they're so much more powerful than they are in the conscious. So the first
Mhm.
step is just to become aware, and then you can go back and rewrite the story, but you can also you can see the thing that you're dealing with and you can acknowledge it, and you're not going to heal it in a day or in a single live session, but at least you know the I don't want to say the enemy because those fears are all of our friends. They're there trying to keep us safe. But at least you know what you're dealing with and you can move through that in a conscious way versus that kind of general anxiety feeling that you have, when you're just terrified of doing something and you don't know why. You can get really clear on what you're actually working through, kind of like working a specific muscle group or training for a specific type of athletic event.
I I love the idea, but we have seen a lot of vulnerability from me. But some people feel like, oh, if I'm asking myself these questions, there are also things coming up, and I continue to feel like I want to go on camera, but I don't feel super confident. And you have a super special offer for everyone who's watching this to get a little bit more clarity on this? Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I'm preparing to launch my first VIP one-on-one and group course coaching combo. I'm so excited about it. It's called the Hero Codes, and it's rooted in an understanding of vocal and stage presence training, and then universal storytelling techniques, which encompasses all of what we were just doing, because the stories we tell ourselves affect the stories we're able to tell the world. So the doors for that open on April 1st, and it's going to be a really, really special group of people. It's my first course, and it'll be one-on-one time with me. And then because it's about stage performance, it'll be a group course where we have live calls and people can submit videos in the Facebook group and give each other feedback. But the process of going through that, again, is the tactical stage presence 101, vocal training 101, scripting and storytelling 101. But the thing that I get most passionate about is the brand archetype work, like you were hinting at earlier. And as you're going through the process of really identifying those fears that are holding you back and becoming aware of them, it's not like you can break through them in a single day. It takes a constant awareness and practice as you move on your journey. But the point of the hero's journey, which if you've not heard of the hero's journey, for people who are listening, it's a monomyth first outlined by Joseph Campbell. And a monomyth is basically a shared storyline throughout culture, people, and place. So you've got the hero, gets the call to adventure. Usually the hero refuses the call. Then they get kicked out of home, or home is destroyed and they have to go on the adventure. A mentor appears, friends and allies appear. They fight trials and tribulations and little baby dragons. And then eventually you have to fight the grand big dragon, and then return home to the kingdom as the new transformed character that facing that fear has made you. So when you're in the process of moving through your hero journey, which you always are, and remember, as a coach, you're just a few steps ahead of your clients on this hero's journey. You don't have to be an expert. All you need to be is someone who knows what they have to say and is just a little farther ahead. And it's like you're calling out directions, or sharing what you know about how to make the way through the woods. As you're moving through that fear, you can't instantly not feel fear. So one of the most powerful things to do is to identify a brand archetype. And the archetypes, there's many different archetypes, but I work through the Jungian, Carl Jung's 12 archetypes, which are a representation of the journey through the hero's adventure. As you can identify an archetype that your brand is representing and that your client is wishing to step into, you can step into character of that archetype. So you don't have to feel like you know what you're doing, and you don't have to feel completely confident. But one of the most powerful things you can do, like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. I don't know if you've ever heard of her stage name, or lots of great performers throughout time have alter egos that they use when they get on stage. You can consciously identify, create, and then step into that archetypal character, which is the whole point of how archetypes work in the human imagination, and one of the most powerful stage performance tools out there. Because on camera, you're going to be your fitness coaching expert archetype, and you're not necessarily going to go home to your husband or wife and try to tell them how they should do all of their fitness or nutrition coaching stuff. Yeah. So archetypes are fluid, and we move through them in the different places of life. But getting really clear on this character that you can step into, and then using basic stage performance techniques, because I've grown up as a trained actress. So basic techniques that can help you shift into that character and disassociate your ego. That's kind of the whole point. It helps you get more present and more in line with your intention, and less stuck in your prefrontal cortex, judging and being so afraid of what people will think. That's my favorite work to do, because that's what helps people really tune into the power of human imagination. And remember, as kids, we're all born with this superpower to imagine that we're cowboys and Indians, or playing house. It's like a superpower that we use when we're little kids to create reality. And it never goes away. We just forget how to use it. So
Mhm.
the process of stepping into a consciously designed and strategically positioned archetype can help you not only get out of your own head, but also reach and resonate with the ideal niche client audience that you want to be working with.
Who I absolutely love the idea. 1 second, Jesse said coaches just a little bit further ahead, just a little mini insight. When I was working at Precision Nutrition, the idea that they had that Precision Nutrition coaches working at PN are mostly like the cool big brother or the young cool uncle. It was just a step further that was helping you take your first step into the gym or show you the first time doing a bench press. So that was very often the idea of how coaches at Precision Nutrition try to present themselves, just being, hey, I'm the cool brother, the older brother that shows you how to shave for the first time. So just here's a little bit. How can people get in contact with you, Madeline, to go into this deep work and uncover their journey?
Yeah. Well, right now, Instagram is probably the easiest way to connect because I'm offering until course stores or the course launch opens on April 1st, next Friday. I'm offering a get on the list and free coaching call combo. So if you go to my Instagram in the bio, you'll be able to see on my link list that you can book a free coaching consultation call. So that's no obligation to sign on for the course, but it will hold your spot if you're interested in being first in line, because like I said, it's limited availability. And then we'll be able to schedule a 1 hour coaching consultation call where we talk about where you're at and where you want to be, and we can figure out whether or not working together would be the right fit for you as a client.
Awesome. All the links are also in the description. And for everyone who's still watching, thank you so much for taking the time. If you're using the 60-minute coaching call, make sure that you say you come from me. So Madeline has a good reason to come back.
Yeah.
And Madeline, thank you so much for taking the time. And for everyone who's still watching, have an awesome day.
Thank you for your bravery and vulnerability to step up and do some of those exercises with me. It takes a lot of leadership to do that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.